Okay. Okay. There's been a mix-up, so this is MEPS 313? Okay, good, good. So I guess another class got moved 3 different places on campus, and of course not everyone got to the right place, of course. So the only thing we're covering today is most of the syllabus, or the policies and procedures. The last page, by the way, is the, after the break, after the required information, there's 1 page sort of summary of what we'll be covering. And so some people don't go to that last page, but that also changes. So I'm not going to go through everything that's on here. The only caveat I would give you is that if you've not had 1 semester of biochemistry, organic chemistry, it will be a little bit difficult. If you haven't had organic chemistry, you can do well, but it's a lot harder. And it's not that we cover a lot of organic chemistry, it's the nomenclature. So if I talk about carbonyls or this kind of stuff and you don't know what a carbonyl is, then it makes it a little more difficult, okay? So you want to keep that in mind, and that's just based on experience, that's not based on just the fact that it's a prerequisite. Okay, this is a combined online and in-class course. I realized a couple of years ago that basically the content that I have in class can be the same for an online class. All your exams will be online, your quizzes will be online in eCampus. And by the way, when I say e-learning, I really mean eCampus. It's going to take me a while to update my mind to eCampus. All the lectures, unless of course there's a screw up, are recorded, and they'll be in eCampus, and they'll also be in YouTube, on YouTube. Also, we will have reviews, and the reviews will be live cast on YouTube and Google+. So if you're an online student, you must have a Gmail account with as close to your name as you can get. If you're an in-class student, you can always watch the reviews online too. You will need a Gmail account for that. There's the information. This is all that was in the, this is online. Office hours, I usually determine them after the first week or so when committee meetings get set, that sort of thing. The best way to contact me is through email or in Google Chat. So if you see Greg at bgregcobb online, you can do the chat in Gmail. You don't have to do video chat, you can just do text. And I'm online, well, I mean, usually I'm not going to answer anything after like 10 o'clock at night, but I can do it on my phone. I can do it anywhere I am, basically. The big thing is if you have some kind of a problem or whatever, or if you're not doing well, if you come up to me toward the end of the semester and said, I really had a problem with this class, well, my answer is, well, too bad. You should have come and talked to me before the week before the final. Okay? Okay. These are the course outcomes. I'm not going to go over them again, except that one thing that you will I want you to get out of the class is to be a better consumer of information. And a lot of times in this class, I'll be asked a question and the answer will be, well, we think right now that this is the answer, but we really don't know. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. And sometimes that drives students crazy because, well, then what do I put on the exam? And so there'll be a lot of graphs. There'll be the first real lecture will be about experimental design. You will need to learn how to interpret graphs. look at data sets, not only in this class, but when you pick up the paper in the morning and you read something that you might sort of think, well, maybe that's just not right. Grades, there'll be 4 100-point exams. You can drop one of the exams, but everyone has to take the first one. That's because, based on experience, a lot of people will say, well, you know, I've got 2 other exams, so I'll go ahead and just drop the first one. Then you're stuck with the other 3 exams. The first exam tends to be not that hard. The second exam is usually the hardest. The third exam is somewhere in between, and the fourth exam, it varies everywhere because the fourth exam is during the final time. So your performance on the fourth exam, which is not cumulative, it's just over that part of the material, depends on how many other exams you're taking. So I can usually give you an average on the first, second, and third exam. I cannot give you an average on the fourth exam. It's all over the place. There will also be quizzes, and these quizzes will be over a set amount of material, and sometimes that will be over material you have not had, where I will have you to read things. Other times it'll be over material you've had. You'll know. You'll get study guides for every topic. And then there's something else there called a VARC. Does anybody know what a VARC is? Anybody done that? Okay, you'll be getting information about that. That's where you go online and you fill out I think it's a 20-point or 20-question survey, and then based on the answers, it comes up with what are the best ways for you to use to study. You know, so some people are visually oriented, so looking at graphs, like I can't see data, but I can see graphs. So if you give me a table of data, it just looks like a table of data to me. I need to see it as a graph. You know, it's questions like, would you rather repair a car or do this? So the reason why I do this is because a lot of studies have shown if you study using the methods they recommend, that you have a significant increase in your scores. It should be something you get as freshmen, and they may have covered this at some point. Questions about that? Okay, is there a curve? There's something that is called a rolling curve, where you'll know what the average is on each exam, and so you'll have an idea where you stand. The curve usually is not put into place, so I don't add points to any of the exams unless the average is less than 70, and that hardly ever happens. So at the end of the semester, after all the grades are in, is when I will look at the curve. I will tell you that it's not a linear curve, so to get an A, it could be an 89 and above. To get a B, it could be 77. And what I usually look for is something, there's a method called a break point. So you look at the distribution of the grades, and you might see that there's a point where the next grade is 3 points lower than the previous grade. And so that would be a point where I'd say, okay, this is this grade, this is this grade. Okay? So you'll know the average on all the exams, so you'll know where you'll stand. Again, if you're in the online class, you'll be taking the exams online. If you're in class, you'll be taking the exams online. If you miss an exam and you have an excuse, then you can take a makeup. If at the last minute you're going to miss, well, you need to put my number in your phone, because you can at least call and leave a message. And if you have a breakdown or something like that, that's to me, that's an excuse. You should have, here's the wrecker that towed my car, whatever. Those sort of things happen. So if you're going to miss exam, it's much better to tell me before than after. What material will be covered? Okay, this is something that I like to stress. If I don't cover it in class or specifically tell you to read it, then you don't have to worry about it. Okay? So the book, which I don't know if you've purchased the book yet or not. Some people don't purchase the book. As I understand, you can even search for the title PDF, and you can actually download the PDF of the entire book, but I didn't say that. And there will be parts of the book that I'll say you need to read this part, and we may not discuss it in class, but if I say you need to read it, you need to read it. There will be handouts. There will be chapters from other books that we use. All that will be online, and if and I will send you out an email or a notice that there's new material for you to look at. It's Introduction to Plant Physiology, Volume 4. I'm sticking with that for a while because you can get that book online for as low as $25. Anybody got it online? How much did you pay? Yeah, I'm not going to the newer edition because, it doesn't really change that much. Questions? Okay, appeals, usual stuff. The only thing, cell phones. I like to do this. If your cell phone goes off, I get to answer it. And that can be a lot of fun. I think my favorite was when this girl's cell phone went off. She said, my boyfriend called, so I answered it, and he said, who are you answering the cell phone? I said, who are you calling and waking us up? So, a student's mother called, so I got to talk to her. So, that can always be a lot of fun. Cheating, I don't care what it is. If you're taking, if you're taking exams and 3 people are on the same IP address, that automatically goes to honor court. I'm on honor court. You do not want to do that. It is something you do not want to go through. So remember, we have a lot of information that's returned, especially on the online exams. And we can finish up. So my policy is I say, okay, I'm giving you an F, I'm sending it to honor court, and you can go over there and fight it out. That's the way that I handle it. I don't care what it is. And any questions about this? Yes, ma'am.
So your exam includes are online even for the in class?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. In class and online will be in eCampus. Okay, and I will also be sending you out, or I'll be giving you sample exams too. Okay. Yes, ma'am. I couldn't hear you. VARC. I'll be sending you out some information. The VARC is a survey that was developed a few years ago to give you an idea of what your best learning methods are. Like some people use 3x5 cards. Some people, it's better if you rewrite the notes. And there's about 5 different modes of learning, and some people are multimodal. And I will send that out probably after, when it says it's due within a week. I will not have anything that's due until after the first week, because people drop and add and move around. So, and I'll send that information out to you. Anything else? Okay, I tend to answer questions in videos, so when you ask me a question, I'll usually just throw up a quick video and send it back to the entire class. So if you send me a question, I will take the question, take your name off the question, and either respond to the entire class or do a video and send the link out to the entire class. Okay? If it's just mechanics about how the class works, that's usually just an email back. If it's a question about something about that could affect everyone, then I'll send that out to the entire class. You be sure and check your NEO account. Remember, that's officially the way the university gets in touch with you, and the only way, so check your NEO account often. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm signed up for the online
Okay.
section, but if I'm here anyway, so if the lecture that I would get online is the same one that you're doing right now.
The only difference would be if it does not record, and then I would have to record it again in my office. Okay, that's the reason why I went to do it online. There's some philosophies an online course should be a different experience. My philosophy is it should be exactly as close to being in the class as you can possibly be. Okay. I do not require attendance. And that's sometimes controversial. And if you come to class now, you do tend to make a higher grade. What does that mean? This is your first interpretation of data. What does that mean? So I know if you come to every class, you have a tendency to make a higher grade. What's that mean? Huh? Come to class? But what does that mean? Why when you come to class every day do you make a higher grade? Given that the exact same material is on YouTube.
Stronger reinforcement of the topics.
Stronger reinforcement? Or it's people that make good grades tend to come to class anyway. You know, that to me is the interpretation of that data, is that people that make good grades are going to come to class anyway, you know. And what I tend to see is that is the middle of the bell curve. And a lot of times the highest averages will be the people that do come to class, and then there'll be a class that never come to class that have really high grades. And then it sort of goes like that, you know. And it's pretty consistent from year to year. So it could be, to me, you know, and I've never done the experiment, but it would be mostly, I think, people come to class, so they are reinforced, and because the lecture doesn't get recorded, and the one I record upstairs is not quite the same or whatever, you know. Variety of reasons. Any other questions? Okay, let me finish up here with what we're going to be talking about. And that is what plant physiology is. And this is the Book of Knowledge's answer about a summary of what plant physiology is. And basically the take-home message is plant physiology is all the fields of study that go into explaining how a plant works. So that's biochemistry. It's physics. When we talk about water movement, it's all physics. You know, it's water potential. It's just general chemistry. It's a lot of different areas. And what we do is we start out below the cell level, and then we work our way up to the entire plant. And there are plant physiologists. There's actually a guy on campus, I think he's retired now, and his entire research was centered around what happens in the first 2 or 3 millimeters above the leaf surface. That's it. Because that area, and on the top and the bottom of the leaf, how fast the air moves, the humidity, and on and on and on, determines how CO2 gets in the leaf, which determines yield. And then that area also determines how fast water is lost from the leaf. So almost 60, 80% of his research was just on that boundary layer. It's called the boundary layer. We had, in the 90s, we had, me and my colleague who used to team teach with me, he's retired to the south of France. We had over $1 million to study what happens in the first 5 millimeter of the maize root tip when it's flooded. You know, the idea being if you can understand how, plants don't, if I stick you underwater for 5 minutes, you're in bad shape. If I stick a plant underwater for 5 minutes or a day or two, no big deal. They can adapt to that. It's photochemistry. That's a big thing. A lot of work, a lot of plant physiologists are funded by DARPA, the Defense Agency, to try to figure out if we can ever be able to artificially do photosynthesis. So if you could produce a lot of energy from the sun efficiently, then that would really be important. There's a lot of other research in other areas. There's a big thing right now, and has been for a while, is developing drugs in plants. We have a center here on campus now where they're growing vaccines in tobacco plants, or trying to. I think they're doing. It's pretty easy actually to do. Any oral vaccine can be grown in a plant. We used to have, actually, he was the dean. His name was Charlie Arnson. He's a member of the National Academy of Sciences. And he spent a good bit of time developing vaccines that were in bananas. Because one of the biggest problems you have with a vaccine and delivering it to in the third world or undeveloped countries, usually it's got to be refrigerated. It's hard to get it out. Well, put it in a banana. And guess what? It works. So there's a lot of different areas, and I will finish up here because you guys will get out early today. I hope you don't mind. So it's all these different areas. Environmental interactions. Just think about what has happened in the last 2 weeks. A lot of grapevines in the northern part of the country were wiped out because they were not dormant enough, and this ultra low temperature literally shattered the vines apart. We don't have to worry about that here. But these swings in weather certainly affect how plants grow and develop. We've been in this drought. We've had some relief, but California's been in a drought now longer than we have. And then there's other things that are not here, like are the political things. Well, what do? If you have water coming into a large city, the water levels go down, who's going to get the water? The farmers or the people in the city? And this has happened in the past. It's happened in California where they would cut water off from every other block. So from the sky, they'd be green, brown, where, not just plants, but trees died because of lack of water, So there's a lot of work going on to try to make plants more efficient at using water. And we'll cover some molecular in here. We know a lot more about molecular biology than we know about plants. How do you make a plant more water efficient? Nobody knows. You know, we don't know what the genes are. Okay? Questions? Also, you know, my office is on the 5th floor. If you have a question, see me walk around, ask me. If I'm busy, I'll tell you to come back later. Like I said, email or Greg at bgregcobb on in Google Chat or Hangouts. And how many of you have Gmail accounts already? Yeah. If you're online, I would like you to get a second one with your name, so I will know that you're actually, because a big part of it, you know, people can have the exact same grading here and get the exact same average and get different grades. You know, if you ask questions, this kind of stuff, you know, it doesn't bother me for you to come up and see me. We'll work out, we're going to have probably a weekly help session. There'll be a combination in class and online. I don't know when those will be. It'll probably be after 5 though, maybe on the weekends, or there may be more than one time. Any questions? What am I forgetting? Okay. See you guys Wednesday. Probably see some new people too, since the rooms have been moved around so much.